Hello.
Hello. We are
That's who we are. Hey everyone, welcome back to Girls That ADHD.
Hello.
Hi. In case you've forgotten, I'm Anushka.
And I'm Sayaka.
And we have ADHD. We're also practitioners.
Yeah.
And this podcast is hopefully your one-stop shop about all things to do with ADHD. It's a bit unhinged.
But we made it to season 2. So this is season 2 for those who are just tuning in. Welcome to episode 3.
And today we're going to actually be answering some of your questions. Here is one that someone submitted via Instagram, and we'd asked a question about, what do you want us to talk about in this season?
And we actually got answers.
I know.
Great.
Multiple answers, which was amazing.
Wow. Who are we?
I know. Not the ego boost, the confidence boost is real.
Yes.
Anyway, carrying on. She's gone, hello, I don't have experience with this myself, but quite a few of my friends and people that I know who have ADHD struggle with tolerating boredom. Whether it's bored because you don't have anything to do, or what you're meant to be doing is boring and under-stimulating, or being bored in a social setting, etc. I guess I was just wanting to understand the internal experience of boredom with ADHD and why I see people really struggling with feeling quite distressed with this experience. Don't know if that makes sense. Makes lots of sense. Being boring, not being boring. I mean, being boring is hard, but being bored is also hard.
Yeah. Being bored feels like a death sentence.
I'm just thinking about it now, and I feel like physically uncomfortable in my body. Like, how do you experience boredom a lot?
Now, yes. I think because before I wouldn't, because I would just fill my whole day up with things, and then but then that would lead to like a lot of overwhelm. Yeah. So now that I've incorporated more rest into my routine, I do end up feeling more bored. Yeah. And then when I feel bored, it feels like all my insides are like constricting or like they're on fire. That's a really accurate depiction. I feel the same. I get really agitated, and the thing is, like, I won't know that I'm bored. Yes. I get emotionally dysregulated. Yeah. And then when I'm emotionally dysregulated, then I'm like, oh, I'm understimulated. Yes. And the number one way this presents for me is I overthink like crazy. I mean, I go into full-blown spirals. I'll like have maladaptive daydreaming. I have scenarios in my head that I play out until the end. I get upset with people. Yes. Get upset with myself. Yeah. Or I think about past scenarios where I didn't do something right. Yeah. And then try to problem solve it. Yes. Yeah. As if I can go back in time and change that. But no. Basically we just hurt our own feelings. Yeah. If we're bored. Yeah, that's a big one. And it took me so long to realize that that's a form of stimming, because I am feeling understimulated and I'm not doing enough. Yes. But it's also like you said, how do you strike the balance between like overdoing it? Because when I was working a lot and doing a lot of stuff, I wasn't feeling this way. Yeah. But now it's less, but I'm still like, and I notice this on a day-to-day basis, right? So like if I'm trying to read, sometimes that's fine. But sometimes I'll be reading and I'm like, I need something else in the background. Something else. Yeah. Or I need to be like listening to an audiobook and moving my arms, or like it's trying to pair two things up, and I need that bilateral stimulation essentially, where both sides of my brain are doing something, so then I feel comfortable. Yeah. Otherwise, I get agitated, I get annoyed, and I get uncomfortable with this idea of like, it's like restlessness. Yeah. Almost like it is. Boredom is internal restlessness. I would say. Yeah. 100%. And it's uncomfortable. I don't know. I don't like. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah. What do you do about it? How do you fix it? And also, like, I mean, actually, coming back to their question, like, why is it so hard for us? Because I think when you have time to just sit with yourself, especially if you're not doing like the regular regulation work, and you're not used to sitting still or standing still or having time to yourself. Firstly, you don't know what to do. That's true. It's just new. Yeah. Like, time? Who is she? We don't know. A truer sentence has never been said. Yeah. What was the question? This is brilliant. Keep this in. The question was, why do we struggle so much with boredom? Why is it such an excruciating experience? Yeah. I think it's coming down to the motivation levels, right? And like your energy levels, and then also if we're thinking on a more chemical balance space, like your dopamine, your serotonin, everything just feels down, and it affects your mood.
It does affect your mood.
When we're understimulated, we feel, and we're feeling bored. It just, yeah, I think it's excruciating because we feel that sort of pain internally. And I'm not saying like it's a physical pain, but it's like you can feel like the gut wrenchingness of it, you know, and the agitation of it all. Yeah.
You feel that, but then also if you have the hyperactive part of ADHD, then when you're bored, that hyperactivity is it feels more enhanced.
Yeah, 100% it does. Yeah, agree.
And especially if you don't have things to do or things to plan, that turns into internal hyperactivity.
Yeah.
And that's when you feel like...
And I think that's what causes the overthinking then as well, because if you have something to plan and you have something to look forward to doing, it could be anything. It could be like, I've got to build that Lego set later, or like, I've got to cook this for dinner, or, you know, it's like, it's almost like at that point you want to be exerting your energy, but you need to be exerting your energy in the right way.
Exactly.
And then what I mean by that is not that like there's a particular right way to exert it. I mean that your brain, even though there are things to do, this is the other thing. You might be doing a task, right? And you have energy to do a task, but you don't want to do the task that's at hand.
Yes.
Because that task is boring and it's not stimulating enough. And if it's not stimulating enough, again, you're feeling like that inside, you know, that it just feels gross.
Yes.
And so I think you need to actually go and find something that is the right thing to do. Like, or pairing your things up. And I think the solution, at least what I've found over time, and it's still like, you know, still isn't 100% yet. And I think we're okay to like actually admit that as practitioners as well. Like, we're just normal people who also are trying to figure things out. Yeah. Like, boredom is hard and it is difficult. And I think,
especially when you have to do a task that is boring, because then that pairs the boredom of like the understimulation, not having the dopamine, not having the serotonin, but then actually having to have those chemicals to get the task done.
Yeah, correct. And you almost need to boost that up before you can get another task done. Okay, so solutions for when you're feeling bored and understimulated is actually maybe even making a list of things that are stimulating for you.
Yes.
Like, you know, there's, I think on the internet, one of the big things was like a dopamine menu was like all the rage, you know, having like a list of things that boost your dopamine. And that could be listening to music, could be dancing, could be, you know, like listening to an audio book, could be like having a podcast on, could be watching sports in the background. Actually, you know, while the tennis was on, I found it really, really great because I would have the tennis on in the background. Have it on low, like it wasn't muted, but it'd be like 1-2, so you can kind of hear it. Then I would do all these other things, and I would need to almost do like 2-3 things at the same time. But it was like the right level, like the buzz,
like
was
the
right.
background noise. But it also can't be too interesting that it distracts you.
Correct. The tennis is boring enough that until you get to the end, it's not really that interesting, you know? So I guess like maybe the solution for boredom, and this is me just throwing stuff out there and hoping that it kind of sticks, but I do think this works for a lot of people, is actually multitasking, but multitasking in a way that like with things that are not going to clash with each other, because we don't want things to become overstimulating, right? We want it to be like the right level of stimulation. And look, there are like playlists out there on Spotify for bilateral stimulation and binaural stimulation, which is really great for getting you into that mode and focusing. Because this boredom is also what affects our like focus and our ability to focus as well. But I think it's just trying to figure out what things can you pair. And like, oh my God, I've said this so many times to clients and I keep repeating it, but like write it down. Have a list. Be like, like stimulation pairs. And it's like podcast plus laundry, you know? Music plus driving, dance plus something else in the background, whatever it is.
I think it's important to write it down.
Because then you know. Otherwise,
you know, because like when you're bored and then you're understimulated, you don't really want to think about what to add or what to do.
And also we just have shit working memories.
That too.
I forget everything. I constantly forget that there are things that I can do for myself.
I do,
you know, like all the time.
Even though you do it multiple times, you still forget. And then when you do it, you're like, right,
this was good. This actually helped.
Works.
I forgot that this actually helped.
This works.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird because even like the boredom comes with things that I like you enjoy doing, like reading. Like when I have time, I enjoy reading, but sometimes my head just
isn't working and it can't read, and I do have to take a 10-minute TikTok break.
Yeah.
And then I can go back to reading. Because that just gives me the dopamine to keep doing the thing.
Reading's an interesting one because sometimes I'm like, I really want to read this book, but I don't want to read it. I want to listen to it, but I almost need an audio book where the words are popping up in front of me at the same time. Because I read faster than I listen. Then my audiobooks are at like 1.5, 1.7.
You read faster than you listen?
Yeah. So my audiobooks are at 1.7. I tested it out one day because I have an audiobook for almost every book that I own, which is a lot of books. I spent a lot of money on books last year. I'm not allowed to buy anything anymore at all. Anyway, that was a side note. But I've tried listening while I've been reading, and I'm like, no, I read faster.
Wow.
Which is
what
weird.
A skill.
I know. I don't know where it comes from. I mean, sometimes I just miss out and stuff. But what I have started doing recently is like, again, with the motivation side of things and getting stuff done. Because like with reading, for example, I get bored of sometimes the content. And then this is another thing that I found is like the restlessness and the understimulation can affect my hobbies in like a way where I'm like, I want to do this thing, but it's not the right type of that thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to read a book.
Yeah.
But none of the books that I have has the right genre. And I find that with TV shows as well.
Yes.
Like I'll sit down sometimes, I'm like, I really want to watch something.
Yeah. But not
like I don't want to watch this murder mystery, but I need something that's a little bit funny, and that's too serious. And it's like you spend so much
specific.
Oh, it's so specific, and you spend so much time just contemplating what the hell you're supposed to be doing. Even with podcasts, I'm like, I love history podcasts. Yeah. Do I go back and listen to it? No. And then I end up like, it's whether it's TV or a podcast or music or reading, I would just end up doing the same thing that I've already done. Yeah. Which means no new experiences.
Yes. Yeah. So the point is,
I'm in a lull after that point.
Yes. Yeah. So basically the point is boredom is
not good. Don't do it.
Not good. But boredom is not good, but I would say it's like a sign that you're not regulated. Either you're
your body's trying to tell you something. And I think the question is, ask yourself, what is my body trying to tell me? Yeah.
And if you feel like boredom, you have this irrational reaction to boredom, it's not really irrational. No. Like there's a reason behind it. And we're all feeling this way.
Yeah, and it's also it's coming back down to your nervous system, right? Your nervous system is dysregulated. Like because now that I know that my overthinking, and I still do it a lot, but it's been better in the last couple of weeks. I know that my overthinking and my spirals are a result of my understimulation and boredom. Yes. I go out and do stuff. As soon as I start noticing that I'm in a spiral, I'm like, let's go for a walk.
Yes.
No phones, no nothing. Go for a walk. Yeah. Or I'll take a cold shower or something. Yes. Or I will like watch TV. Or I'll find something new to do and I think what the most important thing with boredom is like noticing, being able to tell that you're bored and that you're understimulated.
Yes.
And then having that list of things that can keep you stimulated and then just doing something right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, and then it doesn't matter what it is. It can be anything. But like get yourself out of that space because I feel like the boredom and the understimulation is a hop, skip, and a jump away from task paralysis.
It is.
Yeah.
But another side to it, I think I also over the years changed my relationship with boredom.
Yeah.
Before it was just like a thing that I absolutely hated. And I would try my best to not get bored and I would do all these things to like fill up the time. But
that leads to burnout, right?
That leads to burnout.
Yeah.
But also it's like, because I'm trying to be more creative, boredom is actually good for creativity.
Yeah, it is.
So now whenever I'm bored, sometimes I do just allow myself to sit in that uncomfortable feeling of being bored, because the other side of being bored is I do get more ideas and more motivation for business. I get all these creative ideas, but I'm also more creative like musically. But
it's actually true, like allow yourself to be bored, because you're right, that's where all the best ideas come from. Like when I'm bored, that's where things like, that's where like this podcast came from.
Yes.
It's where the idea of writing comes from. I love writing and I've been writing a little bit more recently, but purely because like I get bored and I allow myself to have that space.
Exactly.
And if you go on a dopamine detox, like if you were to go off all your social media and things like that, you actually realize how much you start enjoying mundane tasks.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, if I, especially when I'm in Fiji, like my internet's a bit shitty. So when I'm at home and there's nothing to do, there's nothing to do where we live, I've never cleaned more than when I'm in Fiji. I've never I washed dishes as soon as I've used them. I love cooking anyway, but I'll cook. I'll clean the house and then I'll sit down and I'll read a book and then I'll watch a really old movie and I'm like, wow, you actually get so many more things done because I'm like, oh, there's no internet and there's nothing else for me to do. I'm not getting that instant hit of dopamine. Allowing yourself to be bored is actually a really healthy thing.
It is a healthy thing. It just takes some time to get used to it if you're used to always doing something and always finding dopamine hits and things like that.
Because ultimately, and we've gone the long way around this, but ultimately being bored is a dopamine dysregulation.
Yes. So regulate.
Regulate. Yeah.
That's pretty much the answer to everything, which is
and it's hard. It's hard. Anything else to add to that? I don't think so. We're going to have to edit this one. I feel like we talked around in circles in the middle there for a little bit. In an effort to not keep you bored, we've kept this particular episode super short. Short. Okay. Bye, boredom.
As usual, our disclaimer at the end of each episode, Girls That ADHD does not provide personalized ADHD management advice for your individual needs. Although we are mental health care practitioners, Girls That ADHD is not a substitution for therapy or counseling of any kind. Girls That ADHD exists for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be relied upon to make decisions about your mental health, well-being, and ADHD management. Advice and conversations from Girls That ADHD are general in nature and do not consider individual circumstances. Always do your research and please seek out guidance from your mental health care team or ADHD coach as required. Okay then, till next time, bye!